like your track record is fully, I want to understand the customer. Like legit. Like there's nothing, like, if I look at Sixth Sense, understand your customer. Even right now, metadata, it's understand your customer, right? CMOs, understanding your customer. So everything I've seen from you thus far is, okay, how can I understand the person I'm marketing to? So it makes absolute sense that you went from, okay, because I see a Lisa that's like, yeah, I need to do this assignment, and then you start asking questions, right? And then, but the questions weren't answered, or what sparked you from going outside to inside? Like, walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. It's so interesting to hear it from another person's perspective, but it's always been kind of human-centric, and I've actually done some classes in that since then, because to me, understanding the problem you're trying to solve, how do you build a relationship with someone? People ultimately are going to buy from people they like and trust. And so really understanding their pain points, what they're trying to solve for, why would they be interested in what you have to offer, to me is the starting point. And in the agency world, I was just finding it was a lot more kind of the arts and crafts, things looking good, very subjective. And I wanted real data, real numbers, what's working, what's not, what kind of adjustments should I make? And also like with intent data, Sixth Sense, like what are they searching for? What gives me clues into what their problems are so that I can create a much more curated and personalized, campaign. And yeah, that's what drives me. And I don't know, I think it's more real, but I also find it works better. And I don't want to put all this effort into something and then not see results.
Yeah. I wonder, because I think that's the ideal vision you need to have when you are marketing towards another individual, right? If we're talking B2B, for example, it's very much about the individual you're speaking to, the target demographic, the ICP, right? We want to know who you are, what you do, and everything else. But it's a stark contrast to what we see on a day-to-day in real life. I mean, people just throw ad dollars on whatever and blindly just start campaigns, or lack of tracking of metrics, essentially. So there's a few things I want to touch on with you, like in terms of topics where we're talking. I'd love to pick your brain about GTM. I'd love to pick your brain about ABM. And all of that kind of combines together with what we're seeing in your history. When you look towards finding what your customer wants, needs, like their intentions, essentially, like how do they buy? What are their signals? What's your go-to? Like, if after everything you've learned until now, how do you start? Let's say you start on a new company and you need to build it. You need to grow it. For all our listeners here, how do you start your campaign? How do you start your research?
Yeah. Well, first, I'll say a lot is changing really quickly with LLMs, and kind of every iteration and advancement in technology has changed things. So where I'm starting today is different than 2-3 years ago. And I'll just to kind of root into that, people used to go into Google and keyword search. And so being able to leverage something like third-party intent data kind of gave me a leg up, right? Where I could use that to create more of like an awareness, or like when people were early stage and they hadn't been to my website yet. That was a game changer then. And so that's where I was starting is, obviously doing some research and understanding what is my product market fit? What kind of problems can my problem solve for the kind of people that are buying it today? But then what would be a leading indicator that somebody would be in market to solve that problem? So that was, again, before ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these new tools came out, where those are all private chats and I don't have visibility into that.
I think you raise a fair point, because we used to be able to just do a Google search. I mean, get keyword data and, okay, look, this keyword gets this amount of visitors, this keyword gets those amount. And now we're seeing that people are doing most of their research in ChatGPT or any type of LLM. And when they get there, I just literally had such an interesting conversation yesterday with my guest, James Worth, how the market is shifting. And we're seeing people doing so much more research ahead of time, right? But the benefit is they come to collect, right? When they're ready to come, and they're ready to go. So, but at the same time, I hear what you're saying. It's a closed box. So where do you get the data from? How do you know what they're looking for? How do you know what they're talking about? How do you know what they need? So how have you been handling that challenge?
Well, in my case, I'm very fortunate because I'm my target audience now. I'm selling to marketers and I've been in this world, but still it's I'm getting out in the market. I need, as a CMO or any sort of marketing leader, the first thing you need to do is know your market. And so to do that, you've got to get out there. You've got to talk to the people who you're selling to, whether it's conferences, whether it's dinners, whether it's just sending someone a DM and asking them if you could take 15 minutes and pick their brain, talking to existing customers, learning more from them about why did they choose your product? What were they looking for? What was kind of the key things that swayed them? Or, even today, like what are they finding the most valuable? So it's getting, again, as close to the market and as close to the customer as possible is what I'm finding is where you got to start.
So the luxury of having like a bird's eye view and just collecting data from tools, we're seeing that move kind of away, not being as accurate anymore because it doesn't represent the full market anymore. And at the same time, we need to look towards the actual human beings. We need to talk to them, hear them out, get in touch, and also look inwards and what kind of data do we have, right? Success stories, reasons why clients maybe didn't onboard or why they had an unsuccessful onboarding, find out their pains. So it seems like there's still a lot of stuff that we can get. And it seems like maybe we need to do a little bit more legwork, but there's a lot of stuff out there, if I'm hearing you correct.
There is. There is. And look, I'm going to give you an example of just a human-centric concept that really changed the way I think. And this was probably 10 years ago. I heard this at a conference. And that's when I started getting into like IDOU has some human-centric design concepts. But this group was charged with trying to help premature babies in third world countries survive. Their survival rate was very low. So they're like, well, we're going to get incubators and send them to these third world countries so that, that's what we would do here. So we're just going to do that there. And we give them access to this. Well, they didn't realize a few things. First of all, they don't have electricity, just to like plug, right? So, I mean, right there was an epic fail. They didn't even go to the village. They didn't talk to the parents. They didn't understand the challenges they were facing. And so once they did that and they had to rethink everything and they had to come up with a solar panel version. And they also had other factors like, the nutrition, the water wasn't clean. So it didn't matter if you sent them formula with it, the water was a problem. So there was, it came down to is the first thing they had to do was actually get them clean running water and wells. And then, they could think about formula and solar powered incubators. And so like I think that's what's really shaped my thinking a lot over the last several years is you gotta get in the weeds. You got to get into the market and really understand who you're selling to.
I really appreciate you saying that. And I, I reflect on myself in terms of like our campaigns, for example, and the things we do. And as much as I want to be as close to it, part of me also is like, okay, but how do I get there? Like, I understand what you're saying. You can have a lifesaver of a product, but if you can't turn it on because there's a lack of electricity, it's not going to work, right? And if drinking your product is going to make them sick because the water's sick, yeah, there's a lot of nutrients in it, but it's not going to be good for you. So context about the market is super important. how, if I'm a SaaS startup, for example, I'm a founder, I'm starting a new company, what's my best bet? Like you said, DMing. Do I go on LinkedIn, find people, send DMs and see if they're interested in me? Do I go emailing? Do I walk outside? I actually heard about this guy that in the US, there was a guy that sat down at Blue something like a coffee shop, and he put his laptop on, and he said he printed out a piece of paper that said free coffee for 5 minutes of your time. And then he got people interested, and they came for the free coffee. They stayed for the chat. They gave him feedback on his product, and he met investors. He met actual potential customers. And the funny thing is, nobody, after all the conversations, nobody actually took him up on the coffee because they were like, yo, I had such a great time. So he went away with a lot of free advice. And I think he would have been happy, even though the coffee was there, even though he had to pay for the coffee. But that's a guerrilla tactic. I understand it. And maybe not everybody has the willpower to do that. But how do you start? Like, how would I start? How does anybody start?
Yeah. Well, I'll say again, getting out in the market, I think is number one. If you can do it, if there's a conference that your kind of target audience is going to be at, even if you just buy your own individual ticket and show up, get to know people there, listen to the material, see what kind of questions are being asked. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, bare bones, but what we've been doing and what I really enjoy is I'll also find a really nice restaurant and do my homework ahead of time and see who I'd really like to invite to go to dinner with me, see if they're going to be there, and try to again get a small like round table discussion together. And I'm not trying to sell, I'm trying to learn. And so things like that. But then another thing I'll say is with LLMs, there's also so much information out there. And if you can, just start pulling that in, and you can, basically prompt your way to get a lot of your answers as well and learn a lot about your audience that way.
So I think the major distinguisher I'm hearing from you is it's not just about being present in the market. You have to really put your ear to the floor, to the ground, and listen. And you have to be willing to learn as well. And I mean, I think there's a lot of people that have a big enough ego that think they know it all, and they've been there. And I look at a younger version of myself, and it's like, yeah, I know everything. Nobody needs to teach me anything. And then I learned, well, it's good to learn. Put your ear on the ground and listen to what people have to say, because the only thing it's going to get you is more knowledge, right? And in this case, knowledge is power. It gets you to where you want to be. It grows you. So listening and learning is what I'm really hearing from you. And we have to find a way to listen. That could be utilizing an LLM. It could be, I like how you said, do your homework about who you want to meet with, who you want to sit with, and just have a discussion, because that opens up so much more. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, I mean, I didn't really start that way either. And it's just been over time that I've learned. And especially because I've been in a lot of different industries too. And yeah, right now I'm marketing basically to my own persona, but I've been for example, I was in healthcare and I was creating a new line of scrubs. I didn't know anything about that. And I thought, okay, this is cool and it's a new fabric and stuff, and people are really going to like these. And we partnered with Jockey and we had a license and all this stuff and, brand name. But when it came down to what I learned the hard way is people wearing the scrubs care about comfort, pockets. They need pockets for everything. They want them to be easy to wash and care for. And they don't want to have to like iron. They're tired. They get home from work, 12-hour shift. Yeah, they're only going to buy so many sets of scrubs at once. They want to throw them in the laundry and take them out of it, put them in the dryer and put them on the next day. Like they don't want it to be high maintenance. And so learning that changed how I was marketing, the product.
It's so interesting,
Yeah.
because it's
Totally different than tech, right? But people are uh, at the center of who people are. It's all the same.
yeah. And I think so basically what I like about this is and I have a question about this, right? So let's take your go-to market for those types of scrubs. If in a general situation you would just, hey, okay, we have a cheaper product, it doesn't really matter, because you're saying the pushback from the nurses could be mean, therefore they will be so unhappy and they might not want to wear it, essentially, right? And that's the reason why it might not be bought or continued on, and your contract might be discontinued at the point. So doing that research prevents you from becoming getting into that situation, because you now know what they like and what they want. And it's so easy to miss this, right? I mean, pockets. And I think that's product market fit. Like, it's so difficult sometimes to find these little sweet spots. And it just shows that the more experience you have in the market, the better it gets. And the more conversations you have is what I'm hearing as well.
Yeah. I mean, it changed everything from how I did the photo shoots, right? Making sure I had stuff in the pockets, showing, the functionality, all of it changed the whole marketing strategy.
Yeah, because now there's so many more different things that you can highlight and that you can actually target towards the buyers. And you could even hand out samples to the nurses and be like, hey, look, this is what we have. And if they start liking it, it's going to bubble up, obviously.
Right. I mean, and there's more to it than that, right? And it goes in tech. I mean, you're not just going to win on features and function.
Yeah.
People will buy from people they like and trust. I think I already said that. If I didn't say it on this one, I've said it like 3 times today. But I think it is a fundamental truth, and I keep coming back to it in this world of AI, because we can do so much more with AI faster, and I think it relieves a lot of burden of what I call like the ing of marketing, the tactical stuff. But I'm hoping what it's also going to do is free us up to know the market, build the brand, create relationships, really take the time to get to know people and what they're looking for. And I saw this presentation from Coca-Cola yesterday, and they're like, we're over 100-year-old brand, but we're not going to change our product. What we're changing and what our whole job is to create experiences that connect with people and connect people to our product. And I think, again, and then you got to know your market, and and that's evolving. So what's interesting, to this like new group of, kids growing up, is not necessarily the same kind of experiences you are creating, but there's still fundamental, components of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to say then also, because it's one of my mentors that always taught me, people do business with people, not with companies. You can appreciate the company, you can hate the company. If you like the person, that's the reason why you're buying.